Do 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 dee do beep do dee do dee dee do 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 dee do dee do dee bop. All right, what's going on, people? It's Winslow, your friendly neighborhood drum and bass producer. Let's talk about some technical stuff today, which is going to be about, which is the most boring thing ever. It's all supposed to be about learning something. So that's what we're gonna do. That sounds interesting to you, stick about. And if it doesn't, there's plenty of other videos where I do fun things. This is gonna be a task. So what is it? Basically, it's taking a step further than our normal single band sidechaining. You would probably think of sidechaining simple as kick and bass. The kick, send that signal to a compressor that affects the bass sound. Every time the kick hits, the bass ducks out of the way. It's your normal 4/4 seasickness. The multiband part takes it a step further and isolates specific frequencies. So instead of affecting the whole sound, the whole frequency spectrum, now we're gonna start dialing in the specific parts for specific purposes. Again, it's just a tool. It's a technique that can help you get the sound you want. It's not something you need to do or that will change your life or is some secret hack. It's just, does this thing get me the sound I want? If it does, cool. If it doesn't, move on. That's all it is, all right? So within the context of like what I write, which is drum and bass mainly, it's a loud genre. It's gonna get squashed, stylistically squashed, but it's gonna get squashed. It's gonna get loud. So if I'm working on something that I think needs a lot of space, or maybe needs sort of a more delicate approach that can still benefit from being squashed, or, you know, being squashed isn't going to kill it, then getting these percentages out within the mix, I think helps to still have that sense of space, that sense of dynamics. I feel like this really comes across when you have vocals in a tune, because, and this is my pet peeve, so many vocal drum and bass tracks are just mixed terribly because they're mixed like everything is about, you know, the music, and the vocals are just like fighting where the snare hits and fighting where everything else hits. And like, it just doesn't sound good to me or anyone else, but they won't tell you that because they don't know any better. And this video is to help you know a little bit better. So if you're a listener and you don't make drum and bass at all, but you're like, what could they do to possibly make that mix a bit better? You know what I mean? This could help. So how can we do multi-band anything? Basically, you need a plugin that has this option. Just your stock multi-band compressor that comes with your DAW. Some EQs have it, like ProQ, for example. Plugins with multi-band functions like Trackspacer. Why is it so hard to say? I'm not editing this out. Trackspacer or Shaperbox. Come on, man. Those are plugins that also have multi-band functionality that you can do similar things. No tool is necessarily better than the other. The right tool is the one you use that gets you the sound you want. Cool? All right. So in this video, I'm going to show you a couple ways how I do it. This is more of a, here's the premise. You should try it out for yourself because there is no right or wrong way. It's just about how it works for you. Yeah, this is my tune Fallout. If you don't know it, it sounds like this.
Wrong place at the wrong time. I'm out here trying to make it right. About time that I take mine. Guess I'm ready for the fallout.
And it also sounds like this.
Remember times when life would leave me broken, unprovoked with no hope and no signs of us growing. Thought that I was strong and figured the higher mighty chose me, but I came too self-indulgent and decided I should show them what I'm.
Again, as a vocal tune, I talked about earlier about making space, because later on it's going to get crushed. It's going to get limited. It's going to be made loud and fat and all that descriptive word stuff. And that means that, like, if you don't have space within the mix down, when you get to that point, it can be a little tough to make it sound good. If the mix doesn't work, then a master isn't gonna make it work, you know what I mean? You know, once you bake a cake, you can't redistribute the ingredients you had in there because you use a little too much vanilla extract or something. Is that what you use for baking? I don't know. So in this tune, basically, I have a couple kind of things being multi-band side-chained. Why did I pick a topic that has such a long, like, anyway. So we got the vocals and the music. We have this piano bit. We have the vocal.
Remember times when life would leave me broken, unprovoked with no hope and no signs of us growing. Thought that I was strong and figured the higher mighty chose me, but
yeah. So in this case, I have this main vocal right here. Because of how I have this routed is I have like ad libs down here, I have the main vocal, and they're all going into one bus. But the sound being sent to one of my favorite plugins, Trackspacer, which is on my synth pads, my melodics bus. So when we open this plugin, Trackspacer, you can see that the vocal is being sent to this plugin so it can duck out specific frequencies in the music. Look at it.
Remember times when life would leave me broken, unprovoked with no hope and no signs of us growing. Thought that I was strong and figured the higher mighty chose me.
So basically, I'm using this to duck out the frequencies that the vocal occupies. I'm not doing it so much as to make it obvious when the music is playing. I'll do that in a second. But I'm just doing it so it fits in just a bit more than sitting on top without it. I'll sort of toggle it on and off, and let's see if you hear a difference. Hopefully YouTube doesn't make a stupid example out of me. Here we go. Off first.
Remember times when life would leave me broken, unprovoked with no hope and no signs of us growing. Thought that I was strong and figured the higher mighty chose me, but I came too self-indulgent and decided I should show them what I'm made of.
Now I'm going to do it on.
Remember times when life would leave me broken, unprovoked with no hope and no signs of us growing. Thought that I was strong and figured the higher mighty chose me, but I came too self-indulgent.
It is really subtle. I can hear it. I don't know. Headphones, not going through YouTube compression. I wrote it. I know what's happening. I can hear it. Like, it's making just a little bit of space. Like when I turn it off, there's a lot more mid information that's sort of making it a bit cloudy. When it's on, the mids are sort of in that area or are knocked out of the music part, and the vocal comes through a bit more clear. There's more clarity. There's more sort of definition in the low end of his voice to me. And it's even more obvious when I start adding the pads and the strings in. Let's see. Sort of cloudy.
Fair, but then they handed me the keys, and then I got my head square. Started looking after me like.
Yeah. So for me, it just makes a little bit of space. This creates clarity. I feel like it helps my mix. And that's why I do it. So I know are these main vocals being sent? Or yeah, so I'm doing the same thing with the sung vocals.
Wrong place at the wrong time. I'm out
just
here
with the
trying
main.
to make it right. About time that I take mine. Guess I'm ready for the fallout.
Now if I do it in an extreme way, let's see what it sounds. Turn it all the way up.
Wrong place at the wrong time. I'm out here trying to make it right. About time that I take mine. Guess I'm ready for the fallout.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. But if you do it subtly, it fits right in. You know what I mean? Now let's take it back.
Wrong place at the wrong time. I'm out here trying to make it right. About time that I take mine. Guess I'm ready for the fallout. People, they come and go. So bad energy, kill it off. It's an illusion, let go.
So remember, I'm just using this to create a bit more space within my mix. If I didn't use it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I could just sort of take an EQ notch on the music bus and sort of create space that way. But when the vocal's not playing, it sort of leaves a hole there. You know what I mean? And I could automate that and blah, blah, blah. But why not just do this? So now that we've talked about how I use multi-band sidechaining with vocals, we're going to switch to another tune, same EP, Pieced Out. You might know it, you might love it. I did a little bit of this with the kick and bass, actually using just traditional single band sidechaining and multi-band just for a little bit more functionality. And maybe as we look through it, it might seem that like I might understand that I shouldn't have to do both. But again, I achieved the sound I wanted under the time constraint of being lazy, most likely. So yeah, let's try it out. All right, here's a project. The tune's called Pieced Out. If you know it, you know it. Sounds like this. So in this case, we have the kick. This is up here. This is a blue bit. Go into the bass. And I have two forms of ID to make sure you know how to do it. I have two forms of this multi-band sidechain bit. First, we have this one, making space. Again, the actual shape of the kick, the frequencies that need to go, not every little bit. If I turn it up super loud or to be super strong, here we go. you get that. So I have it just sort of fitting in. And then I have another step of our normal single band sidechaining, also doing that. So, a keen eye, a keen ear, can you tell what both plugins are doing? Because earlier I was like, I'm using both and I don't know why. And I just looked and now I remember. I'll give you a second. What's happening? So, Trackspacer is making space for the kick and the ghost kicks. Just a little bit here and there. The compressor, the single band, the affecting the full spectrum, is only doing the main kicks. All right. So with both, I'm creating a little bit of space within the mix. This is a tune that is pushed really loud. So much so that I wish I would have mixed it down a bit better and not had it crushed so loud. But the effect is like, it's just a loud tune. So in this case, let's check it. Compressor. It's only doing that one, right? Trackspacer is doing the ghost kicks in the middle. If you look at the waveform, you can see that Trackspacer is doing everything. Compressor is only doing these two, okay? And when you put it all together, just kicking the bass, you get it just fits. You know what I mean? Like the kick tucks nicely into that bass line. The bass is pretty driven, pretty heavy, frequency wise. I'm still getting the punch of the kick and I'm getting the definition of the little ghost kicks, but I'm not taking away from the body of the sub. That's it. I'm just having little percentages here fit in. I also have the kick and the snare being sent to this, so it cuts through. This is just like a fat mix, all right? So I want things sidechain to just make space. So you have the kick doing its thing. Single kick, making sure it cuts through. And then we have snare. So it's just making space. I don't want the seasick like ducking sound. I'm gonna play kick, snare, bass, samples, no sidechaining, and it will effectively sound like a mess. Here you go. All the plugins off. Here's what it sounds like. Like it works. Sure, but if you listen to the kick and the bass low end, you can now hear some clashing. Instead of fitting within, you have a little bit of the transients that's happening with these bass changes are clashing with the kick. The kick isn't cutting through the sample chops as well. The snare is definitely not. It's cutting through enough, but not in a way that I like, because that's what this is all about. It's just like, do I like how it sounds? Yes, cool. No, fix it. So if I flip everything back on, those back on my sidechain, my plugins back on the sample chops, let's see how it sounds now. This is everything on. Sounds great. Everything off. It's like it just gets so much muddier. And again, I can EQ, like notch out parts for the kick, parts for the snare, blah, blah, blah. But for me, for the sound I like, if I do that, it leaves holes in the frequency spectrum when the sound is not playing. I don't like that. And even if it's momentarily, I can still hear it. It's still not a pleasing sound. So when I do this sidechain stuff, just to knock out a little bit of space here and there on a consistent basis, using these plugins, Trackspacer, again, you can use whatever you like. It makes sure that every time a sound hits, there's space for it. And every time it's not hitting, the full spectrum of that sound being affected is there. It's having the cake and eating it too. in this roundabout explanation. All right, so that's it. Like, that's how I use multi-band sidechaining. For me, is really just to make space in the mix, just a little bit. It's all subtle things that when it's on and it's working, you can tell the difference. And when it's off, it's like, it's okay, but you just want that couple more percents. Those little things, those little choices, those little baby steps, the details you think no one else is gonna hear, makes a big effect on what everyone else feels, right? Doing this adds a bit more clarity in the mix. Things speak a bit better. For the vocals, they cut through a bit better. When it gets mastered and it gets made really loud, there's still space that's there for it to breathe and feel dynamic and reactive to the sound around it. There are so many different ways to do this technique. I showed it using one, Trackspacer. That's the way I like doing it. But if you use Shaperbox and all its modules within it, if you use any like the kilohertz, like Snap Heat plugins, some of those can do it. If you use just like Pro Q, like a dynamic EQ, it can do it. Your normal multi-band compressor, so many plugins can just do this. It is a tool, it is a technique to do a specific thing that can help or ultimately do nothing. All right. So if it helps, it helps. And if it does nothing, it does nothing. And if somehow you make something worse with it, go back to the drawing board. You probably don't need to use this in your mix. Yeah. So that's it. If you tried this before, let me know. If you have a different way of doing it, let me know. Maybe I can learn a bit of something from you. It's useful as long as it's useful. And if it's not, it's not. It's another tool for your tool belt. Cool. I'm out of here. I'm Winslow. I'm gonna keep working on stuff. And in the meantime, if you got questions, stick them in the comments. Shoot me a DM, and any of those social links is in the description. Patreon is always an option if you want to support these and see videos like this early. And call your mom. I don't know how to end this. Anyway, later.